Incognito, unobstructed, adaptive. Three words that came to mind whenever I would throw a leg over the Delfast Top 3.0 e-bike. With the perspective of a motorcyclist, taking advantage of all these qualities felt like I was cheating. And I mean that in a good way. Let me tell you about it. Delfast, a Ukrainian electric bike manufacturer, first launched in 2014 as a startup, very interestingly concerned with the delivery of small goods akin to modern systems like Instacart or Favor here in the US. Services like these are a part of everyday life for us in the States, but such an eco-friendly bicycle courier service simply did not exist in the Ukrainian city of Kiev. Delfast was driven to provide the city with such a service, and they did so for a while, but literally could not find a production e-bike that could easily meet the speed, range, and durability demands of a well-trafficked city with awful roads. Sound familiar? So they sat down and engineered their own bikes for their couriers, successfully, and certifiably, as proven by the Guinness Book of World Records regarding the range of these bikes. At the time, the Delfast Prime could achieve a range of 367 kilometers, or about 228 miles, on a single charge. Naturally, the people of Kiev witnessing Delfast couriers riding these sleek bikes would start reaching out and wondering if it were possible to buy one for personal use. Delfast obliged, and after a successful Kickstarter campaign to begin commercially producing these bikes, here we are with the Delfast Top 3.0. The Delfast Top 3.0 is essentially an electric high-end mountain bike with influences from combustion engine-powered dirt bikes. With the price tag of $6,199, the Top 3.0 is akin to a boutique European motorcycle in which parts are used directly off of the shelf to create a no-compromise machine. The stealthy matte black finish was a great choice considering the utility of the vehicle, instead letting the form factor show off the quality rather than a gaudy paint job. You get twin Tektro Auriga 525 hydraulic disc brakes up front, very much akin to a motorcycle, though not as big, allowing for some serious stopping power when you consider the 50-mile-per-hour capabilities of this bike weighing in at 150 pounds. Holding up that weight up front is a set of fully adjustable D&M Volcano inverted 8S forks with 8 inches of travel designed for downhill racing. In the city, this allows the bike to eat potholes and curbs like nothing. One thing that I really like that ties the front end together is this MX-style front fender. Of course, it helps out in the dirt, and in my case for urban riding, it helps out in the rain, which I've experienced. But it looks really cool running back into the frame of the bike, which houses the 72-volt, 48-amp-hour battery system and its composite cover adorned with the company logo and a Guinness Book of World Records decal, something that they're very proud of. When it comes to this bike, you're basically assisting the motor, not the other way around. You help the bike get up to speed with the pedals and then you let the motor do the work. But the crankset and the drive system has not been skimped on. You stomp on some Lasco cranks that drive a Gates carbon belt drive system to the rear wheel. You can quote me as saying that my favorite parts of this bike are definitely the brakes and suspension. So let's talk about what you get at the rear of the bike. Out back is a D&M Burner RCP 2S downhill racing shock, allowing for great combined braking power and easy skids should you feel the need. Is a Tektro Auriga E-Tune disc brake out back. What most of us are here for though is that hub-mounted motor in the rear wheel, and that's where the fun lies. In this trim, the bike comes with a QS V2 motor peaking out at 5,000 watts, which can propel a bike to 50 miles per hour. You have 5 different power modes which allow you to modulate the amount of acceleration you might want at any given time. Now, as a motorcyclist, I was extremely pleased by the fact that the user controls are exactly that of, well, a motorcycle. Beam, blinkers, horn, throttle controls, those are exactly where you would expect them to be. And the blinkers are built into the bunny ear mirrors, which I would replace with some bar ends. Adjusters for the forks are naturally right on top with no need for tools. But here's where you start moving more towards the bicycle norms. The switch here is not for the start and stop switch, and the right lever is for the rear brake, and the left is for the front brakes. And there's no clutch to be found here, obviously. And the two brakes are easy enough to modulate alongside the regenerative braking abilities. The start-stop switch, however, is found directly on the frame over the battery box, and obviously that's where the fun starts. As I mentioned, you have 5 power modes represented by the big number on the right side of the fully colored display. You may notice that I only ride in mode 5. This is the most torquey setting, and it allows for very strong launches or even intentional power wheelies from a stop without the need to pedal up to speed. Of course, for the best range, you want to pedal up to a decent speed and then crank the throttle open, maybe at a lower level. The range on this bike is so good though that I was never really worried about running out of juice, even with a very heavy wrist and staying on mode 5. There were mornings where after riding the bike for 5 days or so, I realized that I forgot to charge it for the 6th day. But it was never really an issue because even with the battery in the red zone, the regenerative braking system will continually bring the battery level back up with some strategic braking after high speed sections. I actually received this bike from Delfast at a time where all of my vehicles were down for some reason or another. so this was my legitimate daily driver for a few weeks. Given the value, the lightweight, and the fact that it wasn't mine to risk losing, every day I would use the aforementioned lightness, high ground clearance, and the power of that motor to simply bring the bike up the stairs into the house without too much effort. On the topic of security, the bike comes with a built-in alarm system controlled by a key fob. There's a shock sensor in there that will set the alarm off should someone start touching the bike while it's armed. And believe me, it's not a fun thing to hear, especially while it's in a hallway. The bike passes the everyday launch test, meaning if you pull up next to a car in traffic and you floor the thing, you can out-accelerate a car traveling at a normal, distracted, cell phone using pace. But that's the thing. It's not a race, but you can play dirty and just stop the same light because, well, you're on a bicycle. That just so happens to be so fast that you ought to wear your full-face moto helmet. It just so happens that it has a headlight that works better than two of my actual bikes, and a horn and turn signals. At the light, you could kind of do a rough track stand, and then combine level 5 torque with a strong pump of the pedals after you verify that it's safe to proceed. That's one of the main uses of the pedals. Since there's no real transmission on the bike, you won't be using the pedals for long, so once you get up to a decent speed, they're pretty much useless. It's just for launching. The brakes are very satisfying to use, and there's a very tactile click when you apply them at a decent speed, which I assume is the regenerative braking properties kicking in. Because the same click occurs when you hit the throttle after braking. They're very strong, and even if you panic brake into a skid, you could very easily re-brake out of it. Mine was spec'd out with the dirt tires, which is honestly the most appealing option as it helps the suspension make curbs feel like they barely exist.
This thing just eats curbs.
And it's not just curbs, it's also potholes, speed bumps, dirt, ramps, whatever. As a New Yorker on two wheels, this is what I really appreciate. No, and as far as New Yorkers go, New Yorkers love this thing. When combined with my, I guess, rather unique Atlas helmet, it's a pretty interesting thing to see rolling down the street doing that electric whine. E-bikes, mopeds, scooters, all that stuff is very popular in New York City, so people have an appreciation for one that looks a lot cooler than most e-bikes that you would see on the road. So, what else? Well, you can connect your phone, attach it to the phone holder, view all the telemetry, diagnostics, and GPS through the Delfast app. Also, turns out I'm kind of fat. So basically, I can personally get the bike up to about 43 miles per hour. That's the fastest I've ever gone on level ground. But I let a coworker ride it who is, let's just say, lighter than me, and he managed to get it up to 50. I checked the maximum weight capacity, and it's 265 pounds, and I weigh about 225 plus gears, so yeah, that pretty much checks out. You can swap the bicycle style seat for a motorcycle style saddle, which is pretty cool. To charge it, you just plug it into this port at the front of the frame, at which it takes 5 hours to charge on average from a normal outlet. So do you guys remember that cake bike that I rode? It's similar, but not in the same class at all. I mean, similar in the sense that they both seek to bring electric motors together with off-road inspired function. I had a lot of fun with both of these bikes, and just like the cake, I left the Delfast thinking, I wouldn't mind owning this thing.
Oh, is that a ramp? I wonder. Oh, nice. Ramp to nowhere. Curbs are nothing to this thing. You know, I had a lot of fun with this thing. It couldn't have come at a better time too. So thank you to Delfast for reaching out to me, because my CB550 is in pieces. My other bikes are not insured, so I can't really take them out on the road. And then my Lancer broke down on me. When you have the qualities of a motorcycle in a bicycle, it's just the ultimate city slicking machine. So this thing was a lot of fun to try out. So again, thank you to Delfast for thank you so much for reaching out to me. I mean, you know, there's bigger fish in the sea, so I definitely appreciate the thought. And thank you for those watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one.